Hey everyone, it's your friend Joseph Craven here on Running Out the Clock, joined by my friend, not yours, Roe Hunter. Roe, how are things?
Things are good. I'm currently in the Thunderdome right now. I got two dogs really getting after one another. I mean, they're playing, but like, if you
They're
didn't know
playing
they were
hard.
They're going hard in the paint, man. Like, woo!
I love it. I love it. This is
Stop it, dogs.
this is part 2 of an episode. Well, I would say it's part 2 of a series. This might be the only actual part of the series. The original topic we had discussed, but this is part 2 of a series that we were discussing about exploring the reasons why Mississippi State fans were so mad at Dan Mullen when he left a year ago to go to Florida. And I do purposefully start off by saying, discussing why they were mad, because I don't know of too many fans that are like actively like still hate the man. I don't know if you do or not. I
don't know of anybody who like hates him and like plans to spit on him this weekend.
Right.
I don't think that's happening.
Yeah. So like, it's not like there is this intense like hatred still, but there is obviously still a lot of, if Florida loses, well, this weekend, especially Mississippi State fans will celebrate. And I'm sure there are a lot of fringe lunatics out there. Who absolutely do. I mean, there always are. But there are message boards for a reason. That's where these people live. But of course there is, I think there's a lot of casual fans that look at it and say, if Florida loses to anyone, they're going to take, some joy in that. I don't think anyone's going to, but I do say, because this is not necessarily super heated, but there's a lot of emotion going into this weekend. And we're hoping to kind of answer the question of why were fans so angry at Dan Mullen, exploring it up to this weekend. If you missed the episode earlier in the week, Chandler and Keith talked about it from the non-Mississippi State perspective of why it is. And they talked a lot about Florida being a better job and so on and so forth, which was, and we maybe were not clear leading into it as to why we were doing the 2-part series, because that wasn't really the point of it, but we will talk about that in a little bit here. But we are going to talk about Dan Mullen's, that's his official name, Dan Mullins, who left Mississippi State to go to Florida, kind of his dream job, and kind of the reasoning of why it hurt fans so much. Now, some of the points brought up in the other episode were rumors about how maybe he was planning on leaving for a while and lied about it. Maybe that he had already had plans to leave before the Egg Bowl and phoned in a weak game plan, that he was trying to take recruits. Those are some of the rumors that go about it. But from my perspective, it seems like for the most part, the major issue here stems from a couple of things. The first of which being the way it went down. The way it went down being on a Sunday afternoon, news breaks on social media that Mullen is accepting the job at Florida, or will be named the new head coach. That's how they always word it. And a lot of Mississippi State players on social media reacted to this, showing that this was the first they had heard anything out of the coach. Within a few hours, he was on a plane to Gainesville. Players were called in and met, with the coaching staff at that point. But it seems like the news broke on social media well before any players were told, anything was addressed with the team. I don't know how procedural that is, but it seems like that seems to be one of the main reasons. Does that seem accurate to you, Ro?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, 100%. I mean, like that. I think that's the part in this where maybe our other two colleagues dropped the ball a little bit.
Maybe
that you have to look at this not necessarily from a fan perspective, but also from a player perspective. Like how did they react to it? And I could go back, and if we need to, we can present evidence via Twitter of all of the things that were said and exchanged when that did happen last year. Like
I distinctly remember Nick Fitzgerald, as soon as the news breaks, tweeting out just like a bunch of dots.
Yeah. Dot. I think Kylan Hill did the same thing. Something, and as well as Jeffrey Simmons, like the main stars of the team, people who are the leaders on the team or whatever. And they all had lots of, surprising reactions to it. It's not like they were preparing for it or anything like that. It was kind of like, But see, this is the Dan Mullen saga, I guess. I mean, going back all the way to when he first started having success in like year 3. ESPN and the social medias were all projecting this guy. Every job that comes up, his name was on a list. And there's a reason for that. There's a reason for that. Part of it is that he was having some success in a school that you're not supposed to have success at.
All right.
Part of that is because he has a great agent.
Yes.
And he's a very good negotiator for contracts. So yeah, as a State fan and following it closely, you just have to kind of take it all with a grain of salt, right? Because every single year it felt like after the first 3, it was like every year we're having the same thing. Is Dan going to stay? Isn't going to stay? And all that kind of stuff. And I think we got so used to it after a while as a fan that like, it's just him trying to find more money. He's probably not going to leave, at least not yet, unless a job that he really likes comes available. And based upon his comments about Florida and then his wife's comments about Starkville, about how she really loves Starkville. The family loves the place, all this kind of stuff. For them to say that and then all of a sudden they get the job, boom. People are going to have reactions about it one way or the other. To say that you wouldn't be upset if it happened to your coach or whatever, I don't know. I find that very hypocritical.
And the thing is, if the players react this certain way, then it seems to echo or it seems to be that what he was saying in public to the media is what he was telling the players individually. Anytime he was asked about because of course people knew Florida was going to have a coaching vacancy. It's not surprising. McElwain, if I forget what week in the season, but McElwain was relieved of duties during the season, if I remember correctly.
Right. Yeah, no, you're right.
And so you knew that the name was going to come up a lot and over again. And I get that. No coach, and this is something that Keith and Chandler talked about, no coach is going to come out and be like, oh, yeah, I'm hearing other offers. Let's talk about the game in hand. No coach is going to speak like that. They're going to speak in coach speak. It's kind of what they do. But I think some of the things that happened with Mullen in particular were that when approached about any sort of issues and saying, like, are you going to be, Mississippi State's head coach next season? He didn't give coach speak answers.
No. He
didn't do that. He answered in certain terms saying, I'm planning on being here. Sometimes because he is a brash man, he has bravado to him. And he liked to, like, there were several times they'd ask and he would, kind of laugh at the question and turn to his other coaches and laugh at the question and then turn around and be like, no, I'm planning on being here,
Yeah.
It was just kind of weird. So it gives the impression. Now, obviously, there's no way of knowing this. And there's a reason that, like, I don't get on message boards. I'm not a message board guy because it's just rumors.
Bored people being bored,
Bored people are being bored people. Yeah. And so, there's a reason. So we can't speculate. But if players react a certain way, it makes you wonder if Mullen is using the same language with players that he is with the media, with fans. Another thing about this, I think it is one of the other main reasons it seems upsetting is the fact that clearly Florida did not target him first in their coaching search. No. There are a couple of failed deals as well. And so it seemed like if they weren't going after him, for the first things, maybe he would not be as interested in that, even though obviously this was a job that he cares a lot about and has always wanted. Obviously, if it's kind of your dream job, like it's one of just a few places that you would ever consider leaving. I think that's why Mississippi State fans didn't ever really take too many of the other offers out there seriously, because it seemed pretty obvious that the only job Mullen would just flat out leave for was the Florida job.
Right.
Because he and his wife, as you mentioned, talked a lot about how his wife preferred living in Starkville, didn't want to move. She was the boss of the family, that sort of situation. And that he was building what he wanted to build. But then the thing that always surprised me is you go back several years, of course, a lot of this is triggered by the fact that Florida pulled what seemed to be impossible out in hiring Scott Strickland away from Mississippi State.
Right.
Which I think is another one of the main factors. And one of the main factors here, Scott Strickland, for anyone who's not familiar, was, of course, like Mississippi State royalty in a way. All student, graduate, very involved in like sports information department as a student, that sort of thing. Married into Mississippi State royalty by marrying the daughter of Bailey Howell, a basketball Hall of Famer from Mississippi State. So Strickland was a lifelong Mississippi State guy, and a few years back, Florida comes up to him and says, look, we are apparently a train wreck. We need a good AD, and we're going to offer you what I can only assume is an ungodly amount of money.
Yeah.
To leave, because they basically gave him the opportunity to leave his dream job.
Right.
Somewhere else, which seems to be surprising as well. So with the fact that Florida also took the athletic director who was responsible for a lot of success in many different fields at Mississippi State, not just with the Dan Mullen. Well, he didn't hire Dan Mullen. That was his predecessor, Greg Byrne, who's now the athletic director at Alabama. That was he did bring in new basketball coach, baseball coach, and brought and women's basketball, brought those sports into a lot of national attention because that. Do you think it really hurts fans a lot to have not just Mullen leave, but also Strickland be responsible for it?
Yeah. Oh, 100%. I feel like this has been kind of the plan for a long time. I mean, if I don't want to read into anything, but like since the moment Mullen has touched down in Florida, like it's been this weird forcing of Dan Mullen on Gator Nation, and like they have worked like Scott Strickland has worked tirelessly on it. And then let me read you a quote from Megan Mullen around her conversation with Scott Strickland this time, or actually Thanksgiving last year. This was at Thanksgiving, so it was around the Egg Bowl.
Okay.
She says, this is from FloridaGators.com on an article entitled, just for reference in case our colleagues want to look up, I'm not making this up. This is entitled "Time for Another Reintroduction to Dan Mullen." That's the title of the article. All right, here's what she says. I lost my spot. All right, we just looked at each other, and said Megan, a former TV sports anchor in Toledo, who met Mullen during his time at Bowling Green as an assistant. We had other opportunities over the years to leave, and it was always, no, we're good. This time was different. We didn't have to say a word. That was her talking about the conversation she had with Scott Strickland this Thanksgiving last year, not with Dan. I imagine Dan's probably around the room or whatever, but this to me is part. I feel like this is kind of part of the plan. With Scott Strickland, like you were talking about a little while ago or earlier, he is a Mississippi State royalty, went to school here, all this kind of stuff. It was kind of shocking when he accepted the job in Florida, when that happened. And everybody was very cautious around that from what I remember. They was like, oh, man, everybody's very nervous, not cautious. They're nervous. They're just really walking on eggshells. Yeah, they were just nervous about it because he was a great athletic director by all accounts. He was really good. And so there was a fear, even when that happened, what, 2 or 3 years ago? Maybe 2. And people then were already like saying, oh, Dan's going to Florida. It's a matter of time. I remember having a conversation with some of my college friends who I went to college with about that very thing happening. Like, oh, I said it'll probably be like maybe 5 years. It'll be when Mississippi State maybe falls off or something, has a few bad years, he'll bounce, or he might see that coming or something.
Yeah.
I didn't think it was going to be this soon. 2 years removed, uh, 2 years removed from them being the number one team in the nation.
Right. And that is the biggest point to me that I think is what upset fans quite a bit, is that it felt as though the timing of it was Mullen just not finishing the job.
Yeah.
That he had started. And that's where it comes into, I mean, you could say all you want about Florida being a better job. You could say all you want about it. And in a lot of ways, sure, Florida's a better job, like from a financial standpoint. There are, laws in the state of Mississippi that kind of limit how much a state employee can make and, all of that. But at the end of the day, if you've got a guy who's been around for 9 years, has built the program that he has built the way that he wanted to build it, to then, be offered a job and be willing to walk away from the most promising season of his entire coaching career at this point, as opposed to maybe waiting about 3 years for whenever Florida inevitably fires whoever it is. Because I still honestly believe I would not be shocked if Mullen is fired from Florida in 3 years, because they're not in a position to be number one in the country. They're not in a position to win a national title right now. And if he can't get there in 3 years, then, he's going to be held to the same regard as his predecessors and Jim McElwain and Will Muschamp. But all that being said, it just was the timing of it was what really, I think, frustrated a lot of fans in this fact that it's like, okay, well, you've built the program exactly where you want it to be.
Yeah.
In 2014, you were one touchdown away from making it to the first college football playoff. Like, you lose to the eventual national champion by all of 5 points. And you could say what you want about the Ole Miss Georgia Tech games at that point. I think there's a lot of demoralization.
There was no let down at that point.
Yeah. So, but I mean, you've got this opportunity here. You're just a few years removed from that with a quarterback who is breaking all of the records that your previous best player in school history quarterback set, and a defense that looks more balanced than all of that. I mean, like, the pieces are in place for Dan to then have the year that he's really wanted since 2014. And I mean, I guess the money's too good, right, to leave. And I think that's what upset a lot of fans, is that this was, you can say all you want about Florida being a better job, blah, blah, blah. I mean, at the end of the day, right now, I'm just going to say it. Yeah, Florida has the potential to be a better job, but it's not a better job than what Dan Mullen had built for himself at Mississippi State right now.
No, he was positioning himself to be like a Bill Schneider. I mean, that's what it felt like, especially with the you talked about him being a brash guy. Let's call a spade here. He was an asshole. He was.
Break out the dog barks, baby. Break out the dog bark censorship.
Talk to me, D. Talk to me, DMX. Tell them Rough Riders. He was, though. He was. My grandfather, my 90-year-old grandfather, who was on the field when Billy Cannon ran the touchdown back in 1950, whatever it was. He was an Ole Miss fan. He bleeds the most red and blue of all the red and blues out there. He is he is a huge Ole Miss fan, right? He makes the claim to this day. Papa, if you're listening, I'm outing you right now. But this is what he says. He says, there has been no worse person in the state of Mississippi that has caused such division than Dan Mullen. Dan Mullen came in here and he doesn't refer to Ole Miss as Ole Miss, not even the University of Mississippi. He calls them what?
That school
up north. That school up north, right? And then there's an entire marketing campaign. We get billboards. We get, all this nonsense of this is our state, blah, blah, blah. And then Ole Miss responds and they do their thing. And then it becomes, the rivalry felt like it mattered again because there were a number of years where it felt like it did matter. Mostly through my college experience. But but he comes back in and he changes, he creates a new environment, and he does a great job. Ultimately, Dan Mullen did a great job at Mississippi State. He took a team that had some success right at the turn of the century into the year 2000. Prior to that, we had not the 90s were not good, and the 80s weren't all that great either. And
the 90s were the Cheryl years.
That's right. Yeah. I'm saying it.
So they were pretty good. Pretty consistently.
I was thinking 70s, 80s.
Yeah, pretty consistently getting into the AP poll and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
Before that was, God bless him, Rocky Felker.
Oh, buddy.
A great man, a very, very good, high quality man. But
no, so Dan comes in and starts changing the environment. We feel like we can compete again, right? I can remember days sitting in the fraternity house watching football, watching our team, not even going to the game because it was that bad. It was just like, oh man, especially after that 3-2 game, which may forever live in infamy. Very much so. After that 3-2 game, I can remember the next game, like not even waking up to even go tailgate. I just remember sitting, being like, well, maybe we'll compete today. Just give us a touchdown. I'll feel all right about that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
To where now it's like you expect every game to be a juggernaut, or some sort of slugfest where we score a lot of points and do this kind of stuff. You expect that now. That's why maybe losing to Kentucky last weekend hurts very badly, because that's not the product that we've seen the last 9 years.
Yeah, no, exactly.
But to why it hurts Mississippi State fans a lot, and why there probably will be a lot of boos this weekend, is because had that guy stayed through this year, and seen what he could have done with this team, with all the pieces kind of coming back that we have right now. I mean, there would have been a statue built, even if we hadn't won a national championship, because these are his players. There's loyalty there, you know. Right now there's a big adjustment, having to get a new system, new coaches, new way of relating, all that kind of stuff. Who knows what could have happened this year if Dan at the reins? I don't know. Would have been more of the same? Maybe not though. We have a pretty good defense still, and
maybe it would have rivaled the 2014 season.
Maybe we'll never know. And so that's what's so frustrating, I think, because it's a marriage that shouldn't end, I think, or it was promised not to end. And now it's over. It's as if he came in one day and he said, listen, honey, I've had an epiphany. I have a better offer from another girl in Dubai, because Dubai is a better place than Mississippi, because Dubai has there's a lot of great stuff going on. They got a lot of money in Dubai. Is it quite the United States? No, not at all. Not yet. But she's there, and that's where I'm going. And don't worry, I've left you a great life here for you and the kids. You get to keep the house. You get to keep everything, right? I'm leaving. No ill will. Have a nice life.
Yep. That is. I mean,
it makes me so mad.
I'm reviewing it in my head, and it's a flawless analogy. There's no flawless.
Sports and marriage are so comparable. It's not even.
Oh yeah, absolutely. As a therapist, you're very familiar with this.
That's right. There's one thing that I know to be true, is that if you can ever compare marriage and sports, you're usually knowing exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you're doing great.
You're doing great.
Doing great. No, that is, at the end of the day, I fully agree with you. That's the main reason why fans were so upset, is that more than anything else, it just felt like an incomplete job.
Yeah. Job not over.
It felt like 2014 was where the future lied. Like that's future lay. That's what you're supposed to say. That's what it's like. Okay, 2014, we did that. We came real close. We were right on the edge. And that's what we're going to get from here on out. And like you were saying, I mean, comparing it to Bill Snyder, like I doubt he would stay in one place for like 35
Forever.
years, 40 years, however long Snyder has. But the fact of the matter is, he was willingly staying in one place for 9 years, which is pretty much unheard of in the modern coaching era, which is another topic for another day. But he stayed in one place to build exactly what he wanted to build, the way he wanted to build it.
Yeah.
He comes into a program that has no expectations other than give us some offense and start winning us some games. He comes into a program where he can take whatever like local 3-star recruit he wants and turn him into an NFL player.
Right.
I don't want anyone to give me anything about recruiting rankings actually meaning a damn in this sport. Like, who cares? Message board people care a lot about recruiting rankings. Don't even tell me that stars matter that much. Hey, you want to know? How many stars did Johnny Manziel have according to Rivals.com, Ro?
Out of I'm not even looking. I'll take a guess. I bet you he had 3.
He was a 3-star recruit out of 5.
Wow.
I looked that up the other day. But anyway, so Mullen comes in and he shows this ability to take a 3-star recruit and turn him into a superstar. He shows this development ability. He takes to prove a point, he takes a 2-star quarterback in Nick Fitzgerald and turns him into what he is. He builds exactly what he wants to build, the way he wants to build it. And so it's not easy. I don't care if Florida is your dream job. You know that you're walking into a much more difficult situation.
Yeah.
Where you can't just go in and build what you want to build overnight. You have to build what the fans want you to build. You have to build what the administration tells you to build. You have to build what the boosters tell you you're supposed to build. And if you don't do that, then you are canned within 3 years. But if you stay at Mississippi State, you continue going to, your 9th straight bowl game. If you have a winning year this year, you continue doing that, then you can stay there for as long as you want and build what you want to build. And if you want to tell me that that's a worse job than going to Florida, then go ahead and tell me that. But you're flat out wrong. Because it's a better job if you want to just make more money and then get fired in a few years when you don't do what the boosters want you to do.
The reality, the modern era coaching carousal, circus, fiasco, whatever you want to call it.
Carousal. Is that how you pronounce it?
That's how I pronounce it. The reality of it is not everybody can be Urban Meyer and Nick Saban, Not everybody that's not I feel as though that's not even a lofty goal to achieve, because that's what it feels like most colleges, athletic programs, and particularly with football, are trying to do. They want the guy who's going to get the recruits, that's going to get the thing, that's going to do the thing and win the championships and da. Mm-hmm. That has worked so well for Nick Saban, right? How well did that work for Oklahoma in the 80s with Marcus Dupree? How well did that work for the Boz in 1989 or 1990, whenever the guy was? These are talented recruits that are just sought off all over the nation. If you haven't checked out The Best That Never Was on ESPN, throwing a plug for ESPN there. It's really, so great. Really sad. As a matter of fact, not to
also want to give a plug to Young Sheldon returning to CBS this fall.
Young Sheldon. What is that show, man? Does anyone watch Young Sheldon? They advertise that so much. Yeah. If you watch Young Sheldon, please write us in. Let us know how it is.
Shout us out in the comments if you watch Young Sheldon.
But yes, no, I was in Primo's a couple of weeks ago here in Madison eating breakfast, and who sits next to me, to the booth next to me? A one marvelous Marcus Dupree.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
He's a huge man. He's a giant. Still huge.
Yeah. He's a giant. His head is as big as my computer screen. And for reference, my computer screen is 28 inches.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you for the reference. I was lost. So.
In case you were like, well, I mean, is it like big, like for like a kid big or like a pro? Mm-hmm. No, it's big. It's a big head. Anyways, not to derail us about Marcus Dupree, but
I don't care. We can jump into this. I mean, we're already off. We're off subject by talking about what's a better job and everything.
I know.
At this point.
We got a hot mic. Hot mic.
You honest to God sounded like Foghorn Leghorn. you all of a sudden went, and then it's just gone.
It's just gone. That time I very much hit the escape button because I was fiddling with my phone in anger. At the end of the day, yeah. I think this weekend there's going to be a lot of booze. And I will say rightfully so. I think it's very Petrino-esque. Not a Louisville Petrino, right? But we're talking Atlanta Falcons Petrino, all right? And we're also talking an Arkansas Petrino.
Yeah.
Not current Louisville one, but Atlanta Falcons. What does he do? I remember we hired Bobby Petrino because I'm a Falcons fan. You know, he takes the Arkansas job overnight because the Falcons were miserable back then, and he was not a good coach, not a good fit for him. And instead of like having a meeting or having a press conference or anything like that, he sends out a memo. He prints off a piece of paper and he lays it in everyone's office and says, "Thank you for my time here. I was your best coach. Goodbye." Whatever he says, I don't remember what he says. But
no, it seems like that was it, word for word. I love it.
Yeah. And of course, all the players, even though it's professional football, there's still a sense of loyalty. Like, dude, come on now. It feels so cowardly, you know. It just feels so like you put in so much hard work and effort at State, you know, Dan. You put in so much effort, and so you sacrifice so much time and energy away from family, and then just to kind of like peace out. And then a week later, he takes out an article maybe in the Clarion Ledger and says thank you or something. You know,
he
it's
does
like
do that. A week later after after leaving the same day that the news breaks and his players learn about it that way.
It's not a good look. It's not a good look.
It's not a good look. Then that's exactly it. Yes, there's an emotional component to it. Of course it is. It's sports, and it's college sports, which means everyone who enjoys this is a moron. Everyone who is into this stupid sport is an idiot.
Yeah.
We all are. We're all complete idiots, and so we get emotional about stupid stuff.
Oh, totally.
Like this. So yeah, there's an emotional component about it for sure. Just like there's going to be an emotional component if Mullen doesn't do what Florida fans want him to do this year and decides to go to the NFL. You know, like, Florida fans are going to be pissed at him for it. Yeah. There's an emotional component, but there is also what you just said, that it just, I don't know, it feels like a job half done.
Yeah. We haven't baked the whole bread here. Like, make it an, just at the very least, make it an even 10 years. You know what I'm saying? Like, get you a decade. No, what's 9 years? What's 9 years? You know,
at least become the winningest coach as opposed to second winningest. You know,
how many? Do you know off the top of your head how many wins he needed? I mean, I feel like it was only like maybe 4 or 5.
Maybe so. I'm going to see if I can pull up Jackie Sherrill's numbers here. I'd have to. Here we go. Jackie Sherrill he had 74 wins, and of course Mullen famously had 69 wins. Yeah. So he's only 5 wins away.
He would have gotten that this year. They would have built a damn statue to him. You know. Yeah. It would have been named Dan Mullen Field. You know. And that to me, that's the part in this whole modern coaching crap that is just lost on college football. I think that stuff means something later on in life. You know, like when you're old and you go to Bill Schneider Family Field is what it's called, which I think is awesome and hilarious at the same time. But I mean, like, you know, you did.
Do you think they went up to him and they're like, "Hey, Bill, you want us to name the whole thing after your family?" And he looked at him and said, "I don't care.
I don't care.
Stop like bothering me about it.
I still work here. Why are you naming the? What's happening? What? Get it together. What are you doing? You know." Yeah. I think that's the part in it where it's like, and then I think the other side of it too, that famous quote that I love to use all the time, "We are who we thought we are." They thank you. I'm definitely saying it right this time. I know I am.
You got it. That was it.
Definitely. But there's an element as a Mississippi State fan and a lifelong Mississippi State fan. There's an element of this is the most Mississippi State thing ever to happen to Mississippi State. Like, there's an element of that where it just feels so like validating in the wrong types of way, in the wrong types of ways. And so there's all that component of it, which it is a factor. It's a piece of the pie when you like this weekend when people go to the stadium. Like, it's going to be another. Oh yeah, that's right. We are like we're basically the brown crayon in the crayon bunch, right? Nobody uses the brown crayon.
Nope.
Nobody likes that color. We like purple. We like gold. We like yellow. We like green.
The shiny stuff. Give us all the shiny.
Nobody wants poo-poo color brown. What? Well, you color dirt. You color the wood. You know, nobody wants that. Nobody wants.
I mean, if you're drawing a log cabin, it's very useful, bro.
It's very useful.
Yeah, it's I mean, for reference, and we do want to wrap it up before we.
I know I could keep going. I really could.
But I mean, do you know who wasn't a very noteworthy football program before the 90s?
The University of Alabama. Got
it. Yeah, they didn't accomplish anything. No, I said before the 90s, not during the 90s.
I'm gonna. Hey, I would probably guess maybe Florida State actually with Bobby Bowden. Maybe I don't know.
Oh, that's interesting. No, it actually is the Florida Gators. Yeah. So if you go back to the 80s, they had a head coach by the name of Galen Hall, who coached from 85. Well, no, it took over in 84 for Coach Charlie Pell, who was there before them, and coached until 89. Now, there were some good years, 83, 84, 85. Charlie Pell, they finished the season ranked 6th, 3rd, and then 5th in the AP poll. That was in Charlie Pell's last full season. And then in the Charlie Pell / Galen Hall year, they finished 3rd. Then Galen Hall took over, and it was 5th. After that, they went 6-5, 6-6, 7-5, 7-5. If you go back before all of that, the best AP finish that they had in the history of the AP poll was 14th back in 1969. Florida did not often finish in the AP poll. If they did, it was never higher than the mid-teens. Charlie Pell, and then the first year of Galen Hall, they had the best finishes they'd ever had. After that, of course, Galen Hall 6-6, 6-5, 6-6, 7-5, 7-5, and then in 1990, a man by the name of Steve Spurrier takes over. Now, who is Florida's field named after? Do you know this answer?
Do you want me to say? Yeah, I don't want to guess. Go ahead.
Florida's stadium is Ben Hill Griffin Stadium, but their field is now named Steve Spurrier Field.
Is it? Okay.
So Spurrier comes in 1990 and he turns the program around. Not only that, he builds them into the program that they go on to be known as. The 90s were the era in which Florida football became one of the top programs in the country. It was not that way beforehand, historically speaking. And, Spurrier was Florida's Dan Mullen, brash personality, offensive, genius, that sort of thing. He built the program. Can you imagine how Florida fans would have felt if Steve Spurrier had gotten them? And then in 98, when Tennessee wins the national title, Spurrier cuts and runs in 98,
Yeah.
Can you imagine how that would actually have gone? How people would they have still viewed him well? Would they have been upset that he left at the time? I mean, let's be honest. Spurrier left in 2001 after going 10-2 and finishing the season ranked 3rd. And then seeing what Ron Zook did there, I don't think too many fans were thrilled. Spurrier left anyway.
Ron Zook got croomed.
He did.
I rushed the field for that game.
I remember that one. That was
very good.
Yeah. So, of course, now the field's named after Steve Spurrier. But not forget that Steve Spurrier built the program and then finished the job, did what he was trying to do, and then left. There's a part of that there. I don't hate Dan Mullen. No. I have no reason to hate Dan Mullen. Disappointed in the way he decided to leave, yes. Disappointed in the way he handled it, sure. But I don't hate Dan Mullen for any reason. He's a human being. Why in the world would I hate him?
Right.
And I think years from now, I don't think there's going to be too many Mississippi State fans that look back on the way he left and say, "Oh yeah, I still am upset about it." There's probably going to be a lot of people that say, "Oh yeah, I was pretty mad at the time, and then I got over it." Yeah. It's gonna get that way. But just imagine, he's. But the thing is, he's not going to have the field named after him.
No,
he's not
named
going
after him
because the job wasn't done.
They've already changed that sandwich that they named after him. I think maybe at the Bulldog in Starkville, they changed it. And it used to be called the Dan Mumfaletta or something like that. And so now they just named it. They named the sandwich Lateral Move.
I love it.
Yeah, it's so good. But last question here that I have for you.
Hit me with it.
Why do you think? Because the article that I read about just a little while ago from FloridaGators.com, they're propping it up as this is Dan's dream job.
Mm-hmm.
Why is Florida Dan's dream job? Why is it Florida?
Because there's no such thing as college football in New England. I mean, where he's from, I guess.
I guess so. I don't understand this line of thinking.
Well, it's because that's where he was when he became like one of the most sought after assistant coaches. That's where his career really began. Like, sure, he got some notoriety with Urban Meyer and Utah. With Alex Smith and the success they had there, but he and Urban made their names for themselves at Florida. And you could say whatever you want about Urban now and the way he ran the program then.
Yeah.
But Florida fans, I think, still have a lot of admiration for Urban Meyer, and I could be wrong on this, and it could be that he's pretty reviled there. But Urban Meyer repaired, like Steve Spurrier built the program, Urban Meyer repaired the program, and then maybe burned the program down. But I think Mullen is viewed as, okay, he came in and he helped play a key part there. This is what really got his career going, which is what is enticing to him. And he can be the guy, he could be the hero there. He already was like the hero who built the Mississippi State program into what it was. But this is, if he can go there, maybe he does feel like there's a much better opportunity for him to win a national title at Florida. And if he does, he becomes a coaching hero there as well. And that could be the dream. But I mean, at the end of the day, I think it's just because that's where he was known.
Yeah.
That's where Tim Tebow came from. And maybe he's hoping that Tim Tebow still has a year of eligibility left. I don't know.
They certainly need a quarterback.
Yeah, that's what it seems like to me is the reason as to why it's a dream job.
Yeah,
other than them dollar bills.
See that? Okay, thank you. Because in this day and age, if you are a Division I college football coach, it doesn't matter what college you're at. You're getting paid, and it is your dream job. Even if you didn't graduate from the university, or even if you did, it doesn't matter. It's do you do the job and do you do it well, and are you worth the money? That's the dream, right? But maybe I'm looking at it wrong because I'm not a college coach, and this is what separates us and them. They look at it as a dream, as a lifelong little boyhood dream of growing up and being that Florida Gator, whatever tradition they have there. I don't know.
Just chomping. I'm pretty sure that's the main.
I'm almost certain that the tradition in Florida is specifically jeans shorts to football games.
Yes.
I'm pretty positive that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I think we can both say we can come to the conclusion, and we can all state fans feel free to boo away. Just go ahead and boo, but then at the end of the boo, a light clap, clap, like, okay, appreciate it, bro, but still boo, but light clap.
Yeah. Like I'm not gonna boo. I'm gonna be at the game. I'm not gonna boo. It's not worth it.
I don't care.
It's just not. But I'm also, really hoping that Florida loses every game for the rest of the season.
Yeah.
And that's another reason it's probably a dream job. He doesn't have to play Alabama to win a division title.
There it is.
That's really the main reason. I mean,
yeah. Or it could be he doesn't have to play LSU. Or it couldn't be that he doesn't have to play Auburn. Or it could be that he doesn't play Ole Miss. Or it could be that he doesn't have to play Arkansas. Oh, everybody could play Arkansas right now.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Anyone could. Anyone could. But anyway, that's okay. We're gonna have to wrap it up here. We want to hear anyone's opinions here about whether or not you agree with us. About I think that Keith made a great point in the previous episode that really at the end of the day, a better job is a subjective term. I think if you consider it anything otherwise. Because I mean, if somebody came up and offered me $1 million to do something that I absolutely hated to do, I would not consider that a better job. No. I consider it a higher paying job.
Yeah.
But it's not a better job just because I'm making more money. There's some subjectivity to all of that. If Mullen thought that this was a better job for him, hey, more power to him. Yeah. And I'm sure I'm not going to hate him years from now. I don't hate him now,
And maybe it was the right move for him in terms of dealing with an athletic director, Mm-hmm. Like maybe he and Scott had that brotherly bond that just comes every once in a while in a blue moon. Who knows?
And he and Cohen maybe did not. So
who knows?
But yeah, at the end of the day, he is gone, and I'm sure there's still some fans that are really hurt by that, and I'm sure there's a lot of fans that really don't care much anymore. But those are the reasons why fans are so upset, which was the whole point of the episode.
Yeah. There we go.
So, I'm done talking, and I'm very hungry.
I'm hungry too. I'm also done talking. Also, Rough Letters for life.
Yep. Roll Tide, Paul. Good night, everyone. Thank you for listening to everyone's least favorite SEC podcast, Running Up the Clock. We are very sorry for having published these 2 episodes about they were massive mistakes, and I take full responsibility for all of it. Good night and good luck.